Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus. I'm your host. I'm joined by Gunnar Hilsey, Del Boy, and Andrew. We are going to look at the Brighton game. We're going to talk about that guy in orange, Anthony Taylor. But moreover than that, we're also going to look forward to a semi-final game at the Emirates against Newcastle in the first major cup competition of the season.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, lads. I know there's a lot of emotion in the room, shall we say. Anthony Taylor has definitely stubbed our toes, wound us up, got us really fed up, because yet again we'll have another decision that we'll never see repeated again in the history of mankind. Trevor, hold your fire on that one, but how are you otherwise?
I thought it was a penalty all day long. I can't see what you're all moaning about. I think Taylor's superb. Made the decision. And away
Trust
we
me on
go.
Sky Sports.
Call me Dermot bloody Gallagher. What a knob that geezer is. Hey? I've never seen nothing like it before or since, right? I'm going to set the scene, right? We've said it so many times on this podcast, all of us, so many times. All we ask for is consistency, right? That's all we want is consistency, right? But there'll never be consistency. There will never, ever be consistency. Because to have consistency, you've got to have rules that are used consistently. And at the moment, there are no rules. There are no rules. They make them up as they go along. They're clueless. So we're never going to get consistency. And we're going to keep on having nights like this, like we're going to have now, for forever and a day, unless the PGMOL is cleared out, taken to task, and Sky News actually grow a pair of hairy ones and stop giving the likes of Gallagher and Dean airtime, because they're a massive party issue. Right, I'm not talking now for half an hour.
Dale, he's made some points there already. How are you? I know on the WhatsApp group you're not being very happy.
No, it's I'd calm down. It's taken me a couple of days to calm down, and then I saw a couple of tweets you guys shared in the WhatsApp group earlier, and it just sent me back off again. And I think it's going to be quite an interesting debate, because I know there's some things we agreed on, some things we disagreed on. But you know what? I've got my health though. I've been really, really ill, as is the wife, over Christmas. So to be here today, smiling and here to take some health into 2025, I'm in a good place. So good to be back.
It's true. Andrew, how are you, mate? I know we've also spoken. It's been eventful.
Wait, Andrew, I'm sorry to butt in there. Just wait a second. Everyone out there, right? And there's loads of you. I'll tell you why Andrew's smiling, right? Because he came to see the shrine, right? He came to my house and he saw the shrine. And I've been poorly, right, this last couple of weeks. I'm still quite poorly now, but I'm going tomorrow. Even if I die in the ground tomorrow, I'm not missing a semi-final, right? And Andrew, what I want to do is, before we go to Andrew, right, I just want to say thanks, Andrew. You came here for an hour the other night. We went up in this Arsenal room, and you perked me right up, mate, when I've been feeling poorly. So cheers for that, mate. And now I won't speak for half an hour now.
Andrew, so just to confirm, he didn't bring you to the pub and buy you a pint. He avoided buying you a pint again.
Mate, honestly, he didn't need to. I could have spent hours in that room. Honestly, the amount of stuff that's in that room is just unreal. And every time I turned to look, it was something different to look at and to read. Or, it's honestly, that is just puts everything that I've got in here. There's so much memorabilia in there and just so much history, Trev. It's just fair play to you, mate. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks, mate. But there's people with much more than I've got, mate. Trust me. I've seen these places, but yeah,
Gary Jones has got loads, hasn't he? So
made me feel better. And Fergus, in case you weren't listening properly, I was feeling poorly, so I wasn't going to go to the pub. Oh, gee, Andrew, next time when I'm feeling better, mate, we'll go to the pub and I'll buy you a pair, and we'll FaceTime Fergus while we're sat there with a
And
pint.
I can take a
All
photograph of
Sounds
it
good
because
to
it's a
me,
rare
mate.
occasion. It's a rare occasion. Even me, Hall, in the Woodbine has never seen your wallet. Listen, it's a tough old January that we have coming up, and we're in the middle of. So just take that comment down a second. We've got Brentford. We played Brighton. We got Newcastle coming up. United, Tottenham, Villa, Zagreb, Wolves, and Girona. So a really tough one on the team. The team that is struggling. I knew I should never have said that. I knew I should never have said that before.
Girona.
Oh,
Sorry, Fergus, I won't talk for another half an hour.
yeah. But it's really tough on the players. It's also tough on the fans. Like, I'm not doing the overseas journey to Girona. Trevor is and Dan is. But it's still up and down on the train. It's money and everything else. But let's look at the Brighton game first and foremost. Very interesting. I don't know if any guys watching it on Sky, the media narrative seemed to change before that game after we had done 2 draws. They were all talking about, with 2 draws in 11 games, and it was very much like Arsenal are back in the race. I know they changed the narrative today. Did you notice that at all, Dan?
To an extent, yeah, a little bit. But in all honesty, watching Sky is so much better without the sound on. It is so much better. You don't have to put up with all the crap that comes out their mouths. So, yeah, I did hear it, but in all honesty, I don't pay attention. And then we just, put the sound off and went to the pub. So, all good.
Trevor, it was the first trip outside London since November 26th, 5 games in London. I know, as you said, you were ill. You couldn't make it in the end. It's not a bad trip. But do you think that stood us in good stead that we've had all those games close to home, especially with the injuries and stuff that we've had gone on?
Yeah, I don't know about that, mate. I honestly don't. But I know that Brighton's a great away trip, and I know that the form we were in, we were going to Brighton as favourites to beat them, right? And people are saying, some people have said that giving away the penalty shouldn't have mattered because we should have been winning by more than 1. And yeah, maybe we should on a good day. But what you've got to remember is, right, what you've really got to remember is Brighton's a hard place to go. We were winning 1-0 and we were holding on comfortably, even though we were coming under a bit of pressure. And that's what the Arsenal do. That's what our history does. We win games 1-0. Arteta's a clever man. He was setting us up to win that game 1-0, right? And if we nick another one, we nick it because he understood how good Brighton were. But what none of us understood, right? What none of us understood is how much Anthony Taylor is turning out to be very, very much apparently against the Arsenal. I mean, I've been through some social media today, Fergus. I just didn't have the patience to write down everything that's come up about Anthony Taylor appertaining to Arsenal games previous and this season, right? But it's a long list now, and most of the things are quite unique. And you think that's not being given against anybody else for that same thing. These are all first. These are all unique, I'll just use one, for instance. They got the penalty because Saliba tried to head the ball. Last season, when we were home against Nottingham Forest, one of the defenders headed Havertz inside the box, stopped him in his tracks, went down injured, play on, and Forest go up the other end and score. Now, I'm not saying that was Anthony Taylor. I'm not sure. So I drifted slightly. I apologise for that. But what I'm saying is this Anthony Taylor character is now starting to get a bit of history about him. Appertaining to the Arsenal. Unique history. And they won't give a damn because they're not accountable.
Yeah, without jumping ahead to the penalty incident, which we'll cover, he does seem to have a record. And I think, wasn't he the guy who gave, was it him or was it Oliver that gave Martinelli the two yellow cards in succession? But there's Tomiyasu getting yellow cards for taking too long to take a penalty, Declan Rice kicking the ball away. Who was it from Man United had done it this weekend? There's so many of these things that we see that are happening and they're never repeated. They're debated ad nauseum on all the news channels and the radio channels, etc. And yet again, it never happens again. Andrew, let's get into the game then. So the lineups, there was no Odegaard or Havertz. Partey was at right back. Odegaard was on the bench, but due to a sickness bug, some of the players were out. And then where he starts in the Saka berth again. So it was Raya, Partey, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Wright, Jorginho, Marino, Namweri, Trossard, and Jesus. The best we could have done, Andrew?
No, because
go on.
Why have we got? Why again are we going to talk about this big subject, elephant in the room? Why are we sticking Partey where we do?
Well, we didn't. We said it on the preview show. We didn't have a choice because Timber was out.
But you've got Lewis Skelly, you've got Tierney on the bench, and have we not got a more defensive player that could play in that position other than Partey and put Partey into midfield? I think we spoke during the game or just after, I can't remember what it was, and we were saying, do we miss? Are we missing something in midfield? And is that person Thomas Partey? Yes, it was. You look how many times that Brighton got that ball in midfield and had space to run at us, and all they did was push the back four onto our 18-yard line, and we just looked like at one point we were just. I mean, I agree with Trev. It had 1-0 to the Arsenal written all over it, and I didn't see them to doing it, but we were just inviting the pressure on. That was my only really disappointment with it was where he was, and because we've done it before and it's not worked. And I think Dale shares the same for you with me. We've exchanged those messages on the group as we were saying. It just doesn't work. I hate it.
Third, listen, before you go to Dale, right? And it's important you go to Dale next. Andrew made a really good point there, which I'll come back to after. But in your defence, mate, and the way this is heading, I think you trying to stay to a strict set of what happenings within the game ain't going to happen, mate. The PGMOL and Anti-Taylor in particular have done it.
I know.
They've done us, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Unlike a lot of other podcasts, not all, but unlike a lot of other podcasts, we are here to talk about what happened on the field and actually watch the game, And so we're all really angry. We're all really bubbling, mate. And if you try and stick to some kind of set,
I'll tell you what. I'll go to Dale with this one about a couple of the players. We'll just run through the game very erratically, but we will get to that point quite quickly. The one that we all want to talk about. Declan Rice in the first half seemed to be controlling the game, Dale, and playing in that role that Odegaard played in. I thought he'd done a really good job, and he gave they call it pre-assist, but Moreno gave the assist to Namweri to score his goal, his second Premier League goal, his fifth goal in all competitions, and hit a record for the first player to score more than one goal under the age of 18. What did you make of Rice's performance, and what did you make of just that general first half? Because we know where we're going very quickly.
Honestly, I thought it was a very controlled first half, if I'm honest with you. I think there was a comment there by Matthew D'Souza come up. It was said 3 days after the Brentford game, we can't really blame the boys. I completely agree. That game, no, we didn't play very well at all, in the second half in particular. But you know what? We played the best we could with the team we had out, and we did enough to win that game. Take away what we'll talk about shortly, that had 1-0 to the Arsenal written all over it. Special mention for me, I thought Nwaneri was fantastic. I thought he was absolutely solid. I thought he was. It was a shame to see him going off at half time, and there was a lot of speculation in the WhatsApp groups as to what's happened and what's what. Arteta's now confirmed. I saw a comment asking about did anyone see what it was. Arteta confirmed about an hour and a half ago that he's out for a couple of weeks. So he is injured, which means more changes tomorrow and the games we've got coming up. But overall, I was very, very happy with the performance of Declan Rice. I thought he was fantastic. He was recovering from a virus. Let's not forget that, because he was on the bench for the previous game. And likewise, there's a lot of people in that squad. Some of them, they're professional footballers. They want to play. If you know you're going to be rested, if you say you've got a cold and a cough, are you going to play? Probably not. So I think there's probably a bit of that, as well as a bit of fatigue from the game a few days before. Overall, though, really happy. I won't beat around the bush. I'm with Andy 100%. Thomas Partey at right back, a big no for me. Who do we put there? Yeah, that's not my solution, right? That's not my place to say. But from what we miss in the midfield, it's not worth it at right back. He brings so much more to midfield, which would give us more stability, especially when we needed it in that second half.
Correct. You can see his performance again, Brentford Brentford was outstanding. He had probably one of his performances of the season, playing in the midfield role. But unfortunately, due to injury, sickness, and everything else that you touched on, he has been tried and used in that area, not successfully because we don't normally win the games. But yeah, Trevor,
you just said it yourself. You've just said it yourself.
I know.
There's other options there.
But I tell you what, despite if it wasn't for a random stupid decision, there was no way that Brighton were getting into that game. We could see that we could have played them for 4 days, and they were still not getting a goal against us. The way that Trevor, as he said, Arteta set up, it was 1-0 to the Arsenal. It was always going to be 1-0 to the Arsenal. Trevor, I was going to come to you about Namweri and him taking the corners. How did you think he did replacing Saka? In hindsight, maybe the muscle injury that they're talking about he's out with could have been playing an effect, but I didn't think it was brilliant.
Yep. Well, firstly, Dal, have you got a new microphone? Because you're sounding very sexy tonight. I must say.
I've got a new light. Can you see my new light? Look, it highlights my grey, Trev.
No, we could.
Yeah, we can see your ball patch.
I don't want a brighter look at your face, mate. But
Thanks, mate.
anyway, I thought Ranieri played exceptionally well, and I think that the goal will do him the world of good. I was so pleased to see him at confidence levels that allowed him to drive defences like that and slot the ball away very nicely. But as for the corners, Ferg, I think you're exactly right. I noticed that. I thought his corners weren't what we've been doing recently. They weren't dropping on the right spots. They weren't clearing the first man a couple of times. He got a couple of them right, but he got a couple of them wrong. And we're not used to dropping the ball on the front post, are we now, from corners? We keep hitting that spot. So, yeah, that was a little bit that let us down. But, Ferg, you mentioned the boys have mentioned Partey. You've mentioned Partey, right? And firstly, I don't want to see Partey at right back, but I don't know what the answer is. And I don't like raising issues when I don't know what the answer is. But what I will say is, I think that of our two proven high-class midfielders in Partey and Rice, at the moment, if I had to miss one of them, I'd miss Rice, because I think Partey has become so important in midfield. I don't know about you boys. This is a question to all three of you. Answer at your will. But I honestly feel that with Rice in the midfield, with Partey in the midfield against Brighton, I think our chances of winning the game go through the roof. I honestly think he's that good at the moment. And that's not saying Rice is bad. Rice is playing fine. But I honestly think that Partey has been superb in midfield this season. And putting him to right back is like us losing a player. But I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I don't know what you boys think on that.
And Andrew?
Actually, today, the one thing that I picked up on with Declan Rice and what I really like about him is the way that he was shepherding Manweri through that game on Saturday night. There was times if you were there. Were you there, Trev? You were there, weren't you?
No,
you couldn't. You couldn't really see. You saw on the TV a few times the top picture where he basically got to him and he was putting his arm around him and he was sort of helping him where to be and where to run and stuff. And I thought it was probably like, the captain's experience, the performance that we were slightly missing from Jorginho. Jorginho's not, he didn't do a bad job, but it just really really helped out and brought him experience it. And I do kind of, when you look at where we were at one point, we were really, really solid on a 4-4-2. There's a comment I've just seen, which I've got to be honest, I do agree with. And, we just kind of looked like when we scored, we were going, that was it. We were just going to go 1-0 and we were going to shepherd it through. We did need to put the game to bed. And I think that is where we're dropping our points, is where we do need to put games and finish them off.
Yeah, I saw Dan's comment. I was going to bring that up at the end because I want to talk about the one last thing I want to talk about before we talk about that penalty is the set piece that Rice done, a new formation. We saw that Brighton with the three players up on the halfway line to try and take away from the threat from penalties and overloading the box. But I thought it was really clever, Trevor, the way that the four players were out there, and just as Rice went to take it, they had to slot it in and almost like slotted into it was clever, and even the commentators were taken aback by it.
Yeah, it's this Jova bloke's got so many tricks up his sleeve, hasn't he? The other teams are trying to find an answer to one issue. Before they've found an answer, he changes things around and we do things differently. I'm really excited about going forward about this. They can change their defences as much as they want. I like it when they leave players up the field because I think it gives the likes of Gabriel and Saliba and Ben White when he comes back more space in the box to do their bit with their head. I'm quite happy to let them leave players up the field. And then Heath's exactly right. I was just coming to that as my last thing. It's not only corners, is it? What a free kick they'd worked out, eh? Nearly came off. Another day that comes off nicely. And it was a sneaky free kick, Heath. And let's hope he stays sneaky all season, mate.
Right, so the elephant in the room. I'm going to play this. And if you have young children or people with exposed skin, get them well away from me because this is going to absolutely boil every bit of fluid in your body. It's a slow motion version of this contact that was in the box, and it clearly shows that Saliba gets his head to it. If you're listening on audio, sorry, there's no audio to this. If you're watching on catch up, it's probably going to be taken out by YouTube. But let's see how long we can get away with this one for. Trevor and Dale, actually. Dale. Here you go. Look, he gets up. He gets his head to the ball. And this is the bit that Dermot Gallagher is on about, saying that the ball didn't go to him. The ball hit him. He didn't go to try and head the ball. He's clearly getting up to jump and block the ball. He's not going for the player.
I'm going to say exactly what I said to you guys earlier. I'm reading it off what I said to you because that was straight, not thinking about it. I just went for it. I watched the clip.
None of that profanity.
None of the fantasies. I'll take those out. I watched I just about calmed down, and then you guys sent some tweets like that, and I was like, right, here we go. So, a couple of things Dermot Gallagher said, right, which really, really boiled my blood, we'll say, right? Yeah, annoyed me. So he said Saliba didn't get the ball struck him. That's because he's a defender. His job's to get in the way of the ball. If the ball strikes him, he's doing his job. And on the top of that, he says he didn't get the ball got him. What part of that makes sense? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That is one of the most pathetic decisions. So to put some context in it, right? Normally when you see a decision like that, so forget the Arsenal side of things for now. You love the Spurs fans and the Chelsea fans and everyone else sit there and go, ha, brilliant. Oh, yeah, I can see that's a penalty. Every single person we was in the pub with said, never in a million years a penalty. You had Leeds, you had Spurs, you had Chelsea, you name it, it was there. They're all going, oh, come on. Nah, the more you see it, the worse it looks. And the more you see it, the more... I'm rambling now. I'm annoyed. I'm really annoyed. I can't see in what planet that's not a penalty. That's me done. I'm going to stop talking for 30 minutes now, Trev.
Andrew, it was not a penalty. Yet again, this, which was brutal on Gordon for Newcastle. I've titled this podcast, We Only Want Fairness. Trevor said consistency. Same thing as well. If the decision goes against us, it goes against us because we've committed a foul. But 3 seconds it took Taylor to blow his whistle. It takes longer than 3 seconds to put his whistle in the mouth. So did he have it in his mind that he just wanted to give something against the Arsenal?
What's he looking for, though? I mean, so Saliba, they clash heads, and that's all it is. It's a clash of heads. I want to know, if Saliba goes down holding his head, what does he do?
That's what I said.
What does he do? Does he wave the physios on and just say clash of heads, and he's not going to give a penalty, is he? But because Saliba's not gone down, and he's looking. But I can remember watching the game thinking, oh, he's blown for a free kick. He's thought he's dived, and he's pointed to the penalty spot. And I don't know. There was stuff flying around my front room when that was given. It was just ridiculous. It was just insane. Theo nearly went through as well at one point. He was jumping. How was that ever a penalty in a million years? And when you throw the Anthony Gordon one into it as well, which happened earlier on in the day,
which wasn't a penalty either, but you could see it given more than anything else.
But I'm not. But look at the state of him. You can't. He's got him, hasn't he? Well and truly, accidental or not, that's a penalty. If the Arsenal one's a penalty, that's a penalty. And it's just just the inconsistency. But we've seen it over and over again. We've seen the United player not getting booked for kicking the ball away. We've seen that again, and it's just all these little bits and pieces just seem to be adding up against us at the moment. And people will turn around. I had it on Sunday. Oh, you're just moaning because you dropped points away at Brighton. No, I'm not moaning. I'm moaning because it's becoming ridiculous and it's becoming obvious that things are coming against us. And where do you draw the line? Because, like Trev says, Sky Sports are just spouting complete and utter dross, and they'll spin it and turn it any way they want to.
Trevor, before we go to Trev,
start rambling as well.
I know Trev's got a lot to say about this, so just a quick point from me. Henty hits the nail on the head here.
No,
Did we blame VAR?
Let me run that side of things. Yeah, I was about to go to you, Trevor, and say Henty does make a comment. Should we blame VAR instead of Taylor? And also Jeff makes another comment as well that there was no concussion protocol done from Pedro. Bear in mind, he's already got a bandage on the side of his head. There was no medics brought on or anything like that. VAR, are they at fault? Because from what I hear, the transcript from what the VAR said, sufficient contact. So they didn't overrule the on-field referee.
Let me stick another angle on it for you then. Who was the 4 officials in the ground? There's 2 officials in the VAR room. Who was close? Who got the closest look at when Saliba headed that ball? Who was closest with the clearest vision? Anthony Taylor was close to the ball, had a clear view, right? Saw what had happened, but he didn't blow straight away, right? It was 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Maybe 4, right? What do you think could have happened in them 3 seconds? Let me tell you what might have happened in them 3 seconds. Either the linesman or the VAR have got straight in his ear, and said penalty, right? And then he's blown. Work it out. See something, right? 1, 2, 3. Penalty. Whistle, penalty, right? I'm telling you, something is going on there beyond what we see. And more importantly, what we hear. Just like when Saliba's yellow was changed to a red at Bournemouth. Who was in the stand on his phone? Hey? Who was on the stand on his phone? What's his name? The idiot whose name I don't even want to say, right? Webb. Howard Webb was in the stand. Saliba's given a yellow. Howard Webb's immediately on his phone. Suddenly it becomes a red. On Saturday, Taylor is on top of that situation. He's a top level referee, right? He refs internationals. He's a top level, highly paid professional. He's got the clearest view of what happened, but he doesn't blow straight away. The only thing that could have made him blow after 3 seconds, right? Because they didn't have an advantage. He wasn't looking at that. The ball had gone, right? It's someone getting in his ear and saying penalty. Then he whistles, right? I'm telling you now, for me, and it's only for me, as we know, that's where them 3 seconds went. Somebody's in his lug hole. Somebody's.
I've got a different take on this. I've got a different take on this, if I can. Now, I don't think it was that in the slightest, if I'm honest. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's he wanted to give a penalty against us. He wasn't sure, but he thought, you know what, if I blow up now, VAR will correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I think's happened. And then VAR have gone, and I'm not quite sure what to think here. I think he bottled it. He didn't know what to do, so he blew it anyway. And he blew it anyway because he had no idea.
The VAR will not overrule the on-field referee. VAR will recommend that he goes and views it. But if there's sufficient contact, they're saying there's contact with the head, which there was. We all saw that. But, they're saying sufficient contact, penalty. The on-field referee stands. So it was a stupid gamble.
Equally is to blame here for me. I can't see it. 100% the referee is at fault.
I don't disagree. I think VAR should have been more sensible. And like Dan, you totally confused me, Dan, but that's not difficult. Dan was coming up here about like a deviation of the ball. And the ball came off Saliba's head. Saliba was doing what Saliba was meant to do, which is jump up and try and defend against it. There was contact. And Andrew, I said it in the WhatsApp previously, if Trevor's gone for a second, if Saliba had fallen to the ground and held his head, medics would have come on, nothing would have happened. And
it wouldn't have been given.
Yeah.
But also another point as well, if that replay gets shown in the ground, okay, in front of everybody, does he give it? Because is he giving it because Brighton fans were screaming for it and Brighton players were all screaming for it? Is he giving it for those reasons as well? Has he been peer pressured into it? If that's shown in the ground, does he give it?
No, in that fast amount of time, there's not a chance on this earth that referee could have been sure about that. What he's done, he's gone, maybe I missed something here. VAR will get me out of the shit like it does every single week. And that's why it's happened.
I did see the angle that the referee, because the referee's head on it, and he doesn't see the same angle that we just saw there in that video.
Yeah, exactly.
So he sees it from the front, and he doesn't see this angle that we've got from here. And I know with all the cameras and everything else, I just think it was an extremely poor decision. And I don't know.
That's the point of VAR. Clear and obvious errors. He made a clear and obvious error, which VAR did not correct. They
that's the issue, isn't it?
The decision.
Clear and obvious. That is the big grey point with VAR. What is clear and obvious? Now,
so to everybody watching that video, that was a clear and obvious error. However, to the referee,
I agree.
It probably wasn't a clear and obvious error because the referee probably didn't see that angle, just like Fergus said a minute ago. So for me, it is a clear and obvious error. So VAR should be intervening then and saying, actually, regardless of how long it takes, we all grumble about how long VAR takes. But if it's the right decision, then so be it. I said that in the group earlier. So I don't care how long it takes, as long as the decision's correct.
Trevor, what's clear and obvious is BBC Match of the Day, who many of us criticise to say that they talk absolute rubbish half the time. They said it wasn't a penalty. TNT Sports said it wasn't a penalty. TalkSport said it wasn't a penalty. Every media outlet you can see, 90% of people on every social media platform off relevance, like educated, journalistic sportsmen who understand the game, said it wasn't a penalty. But one channel spouts continuous crap about poor decisions and even vitriol against Arteta, and saying since Arteta said disgracia about a refereeing decision last season, they're almost that they poo-poo everything he says. How can Sky, and I'll say it here, I don't care because it's my personal opinion, how can Sky get away with being the mouthpiece for the BGMOL and just talking crap?
Well, firstly, if TalkSport says a penalty, it's not a penalty, then it's not a penalty, right? Because TalkSport have not one iota of time for the Arsenal Football Club. Someone's just to put a comment in here. Henry Winter said it was a penalty. I pulled him on that politely on social media, Matthew, but he never responds. He'll never respond because he's fishing. I think he's just fishing for attention, and he likes the northern teams anyway. I think that you have to think conspiracy, don't you? What else can you think about when every other person on the planet, apart from, as Andrew or Dale just mentioned, that fans from other clubs are always going to have a bitch and have a bite because we look for opportunities to banter. Although I myself think this has gone beyond banter, and you'll never see me saying a bad word about any bad decision any team gets because it's just wrong. But you just look, and when you look at what's happened this weekend, who's saying it wasn't, who's saying it wasn't, the only people that are saying it was a penalty are the triangle of three. Sky TV, the PGO, MOL, and the Premier League, because the Premier League haven't made a statement about it. As a matter of fact, I saw on social media something that might have said they even agreed with it. So what you have to start doing is then you have to focus on them three, right? Because all the others said the rules are the rules, and it wasn't a penalty. We know that the PGMOL are totally unanswerable. We know that Sky TV don't give a damn because they give airtime to the likes of Gallagher and Dean. And then we know that the Premier League don't give a damn because they let it happen. And while that vicious, I call it a vicious circle, but it's a triangle of three. While that's never challenged, we have to live with this. Like I said at the very top of the show, we're not going to get consistency because there are no rules at the moment. They make them up as they go along. There was a handball at Liverpool, which was awful. Kulusevski put his shoulder into a player in the box and nearly took his head off. No penalty given, and so it starts to get me. It's not hard for me, right? But it starts to get me a little bit emotional because The game that I've invested 62 years of my life in, paid thousands and tens of thousands of pounds to go and watch games, right? Isn't being won. The games aren't being won on a football field by the best teams. They're being won by whoever decides they want to win between that set of three, because all the others saw it differently. And don't tell me that it's because some are more skilled than others. The pundits that they had on the BBC the other night, right, are damn fine pundits, you know, and they were unanimous. Actually,
but Danny Murphy can't stand Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. And they even found it. They had to smile, I think, otherwise they would have shouted their heads off, because they were gobsmacked, totally gobsmacked as to what happened. So they're that extreme in their views. Three players that have played the game at the highest level are that extreme in their views, right? Yet you go across the sky and they've got a couple of referees and a couple of well-paid pundits who are in Sky's pocket. Say differently. Work it out for yourselves. It's not difficult. The game's, in my view, the game is absolutely gone. It's bent. It's corrupt. And if it's not that, someone tell me it's not that, and tell me it's being put right, because it ain't being put right at the moment. Not a chance.
Some interesting comments. Dan says, a bit like what we said, from the angle that the referee saw, he probably did make the right call from his view, but VAR should have checked that. Heath asked at VAR. Yeah, Heath asked at VAR have the angle that we've just shown. Yeah, that is a VAR Sky Premier League camera view from there. And Dan Duckworth for me says it's quite simple. You make VAR the referee in the room, who has every single angle available at the disposal, and the final decision. No undermining the on-field referee, just assisting the on-pitch ref who makes the split-second decisions. What's your view on that one, boys?
Trev, you're on mute.
See this comment from Simon. Simon, Ferg, can you remember that, please? Can we come back to it when we've covered this off? It's really important point, Simon.
Yes, you've started. Just take that.
Looking at it from a different angle is really important. Yeah. We'll come back.
So if I can start on that one. So that comment from Dan of the referee. So if a pub full, forget the people in the ground, because they don't see what we see on TV, right? And I know it's easy for me to say seeing it on TV, but that comment by Dan is exactly what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying. The referee can only give what he sees. The whole point of VAR in a split second, in less than 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it may be, they have the ability to see that from various different angles, sped up, slowed down, whatever it may be. If a pub full of people, if tens of thousands of pubs full of people, if living rooms full of people up and down the country in a matter of seconds can go, oh, actually, that's not a penalty. Why on earth? It's not the technology. We've said it again. It's the incompetence behind it. It's the clowns that are running this thing. So I don't think it matters if you stick the referee, the VAR there. You can mic him up if you want. You could play it around the stadium. It makes no difference. If these people haven't got the nous to make the correct decisions and overrule the referee when the referee was wrong, that's what happened here. Going back to Dan's comment, the referee was wrong. The referee was wrong. Okay, he thought he was correct. VAR should have intervened. You guys in the ground, Dan's just covered it there. Absolutely no idea what was going on in the ground. No idea whatsoever. So again, it's like if thousands and thousands of people across the country from all fan bases can see in a split second that's not a penalty, why can these idiots being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds not be seen as well?
Andrew, wait, go on, Trevor, Andrew, whoever. Yeah.
Sorry, Ferg. I want to sling something else into Andrew here, right? Because we spoke about Dan's comment there, and he said he never saw it in the ground. So I just want to add this into the flow, because you won't get a chance to come back to it. You boys like me watched it on the TV. I didn't see what happened on the TV. I just wait for the replay.
No,
Andrew, did you?
No, and that's what I say about the Taylor when he was pointing. I thought he'd given it for diving, because he went down so quick and rolling around like he did, because he did it he tried to get whoever it was booked earlier on. He just went down and started rolling around.
I don't think even the commentators knew what was going on.
Sorry?
I don't think the commentators even knew what was going on.
No, I don't think they did. I don't think anybody. I mean, they were just as shocked when he pointed to the spot. I mean, I wasn't watching it on Sky Sports because I can't stand the commentators on there. I've gone to a different channel. So, and even they were saying,
you were in a different country, were you, Andrew?
I was in a completely different country.
Yeah, you were
And they were
in
saying
Ireland for the weekend.
it was just like, and even they couldn't get it. You know, it's like, what? How? What's he seen? He's given, he's given the penalty. But go back to what we were just talking about VAR, right? You've got somebody stood on the touchline who's an official. Okay, I want to go back to another love of sport of mine, ice hockey. Okay, in the NHL, if a decision goes to the screen, they come over and all the officials come together and talk about it and have a decision. So why can't the fourth official be involved in watching the screen to actually get another impartial view? Because you've got two people in the VAR room, and then you've got one watching the screen or making the decision. You've got another person whose opinion
should be in stadium. It should be in stadium. It shouldn't be at Stockley miles away.
But I still think to the fact that it should be shown in the stadium. I think that is the ref should be mindful.
There's a test coming on the Newcastle game. It was done in the Women's World Cup. There's a test going on in the Newcastle game on Tuesday where the ref will be mic'd up. His final decision on whatever, if a VAR gets involved, or will be broadcast across the stadium and on the screens. I don't know if they'll show the footage of what they're talking about, but at least, like we get those stupid tweets a half hour after VAR have done something in the stadium. You're actually going to hear his final decision.
That's my point. You're only going to hear his final decision. You're not going to hear what's said before that, leading up to it.
Well, they don't care about us. They're all they care about is people are paying, subscriptions and TV channels because in principle, I was fine with VAR. We said it had the opportunity to compromise the game, and we've gone further and further and further and saying it's bloody corrupt. It feels like, but in principle, I have no issue with it. But it's designed for a TV audience. It's designed like you're playing PlayStation. Because when you're sitting at home, you can see all the different angles on your TV screen. You can see the lines drawn. They can spin the camera. They can do anything they want and all this sort of thing. And the commentators listen and able to describe what the VAR referees are saying. But for us people who pay, as Trevor said, tens of thousands of pounds, at least, look, all of us are paying over $1,000 a year to go to football, probably $3-4 grand when you factor in travel, money, and just eating and drinking for the games. We're spending fortunes, and we're just treated like cattle.
But if that happens in Europe, if that happens in the Champions League in a couple of weeks' time, what's going to get given?
It won't. It will never happen. It will never. You'll never see it happen again.
Go back to 3 weeks ago, and Areola was saying about he was told that in the Premier League, I think it was handball off the top of my head. That's a handball, right? If that's handball in the Premier League, it's handball. And we had it the same in Milan, didn't we? The referee gave it, and everyone said in the Premier League that's never handball. We're all playing the same game. Why do the rules differ compared to where they are? Even Areola's calling it out now, saying, why is it different in different countries and different things? We're never going to see that given as a penalty ever again.
Trevor, to move it on slightly, unless you have any final things to talk about there, it was Dan's comment that I said we'd return back to. Do you want to finish up on the VAR before we put that up?
I think with VAR, we're very close to going full circle to where we very first started. I think that was before Dale and Andrew kindly agreed to come on our show. In that, the VAR gives too many opportunities to influence games. If you've got a referee on the field and he gives that decision yesterday, like they did, was it yesterday or Saturday?
Yeah.
Then we're all saying that referee's blind, that referee's a cheat, that referee is no good, right? Like we used to in the bad old days, right? And we can aim it at a referee. But now we don't know where we stand. Is it the referee? I know Dale disagrees with me, but is it someone talking in their ears? It's happened twice this season with Saliba and then that penalty. Is it someone talking in their ears? Is it the linesman getting too involved in the games when they had no shouldn't really do that? Is VAR either should it not be used or should it be used more widely and cover more things? There's so many question marks. My head's just shed with what we do and what could happen and this and that, right? That right at this moment in time, just when VAR has started growing on me, I'm thinking again, out it. Let me shout and scream abuse at a referee, but at least I've got it in my head that a referee's made a mistake, right? Human nature, I can think human nature. Bloke's a knob, bloke's a dick, bloke's useless, bloke's a cheat. But it could be human nature. It could be human nature that he's made that decision. He may have just missed it. We all miss things. We're humans. I can't have that thought now. There is no excuse for what we see on football fields nowadays when we've got 6 people involved in refereeing a game. 6.
Then go back to Dale's point earlier, Trev. Right? Dale said it spot on. He's put his whistle to his lips and he's thinking, if I get this wrong, VAR is going to intervene. So take VAR out of the equation and it's not there. Does he still give that penalty? And the answer will be no.
No, he doesn't. Not in a million years. I think that's exactly why he's done it. He thought, if I've got it wrong, the VAR will tell me I've got it wrong. But if I've got it right, I'll look like a hero. That's what he's got to think in his head. He can't go wrong. And this is why I don't necessarily blame the referee. I do blame him to an extent, but he can only give what he sees, right? And he's not seeing that in total. So he goes, I think there may have been a foul there. I think there might have been this. You know what? If I blow anyway, which is why it's 3 seconds later, VAR will get me out of shit, or VAR will save me.
It's an interesting theory. I don't see it, but I get where you're coming from. I do.
No, do you know?
But then go back even further. Has he not blown it? But then the referees, then VAR in his ear have gone, you need to look at that. And he's gone, oh, penalty. We'll review that.
Exactly.
The only way you can review it is if he gives the penalty.
Andrew, exactly. I see Dale's point of view, and I'm putting my point of view across as well. But what we shouldn't be doing is having all these different points of views. Dale's point of view, my point of view, Andrew's put a few points to that, Fergus has put a few points to that. We shouldn't be having
it should be clear
all of these discrepancies, because that's exactly why we have 6 people controlling one game of football, to do away with what we've just discussed, to do away with it. And it just makes it worse at the moment. I'm fuming. I just spat on my microphone. I'm not angry.
Right. Listen, a question that Dan was up, which was very, very relevant. And I just want to use this as almost stepping into the Newcastle game, which we'll talk about as well, because it's important. Highlights to talk about as well. Martinelli made his 200th appearance, coming on as a substitute for Namweri for Arsenal. We did nearly come close to possibly losing the game when Minty lost Calafiori. We'll leave that topic maybe for what we're talking about the Newcastle game, about Calafiori and his performance. But Dan says, missing the bigger picture. This is earlier in the podcast, he put it up. We stopped playing at 1-0, didn't create enough chances, and aren't good enough in the final third. We can't blame decisions. We can blame the decisions all we like, but we should be putting the game to bed. And I think you touched on it briefly, Andrew, but our forward line does seem a little less potent. But when you look at this, last year we ended on 40 points with a goal difference of 21. And after 20 games, we're still on 40 points. This time we're second. Goal difference is 17. And we got a goal difference of 21 in 24-25 season after 20 games. Is there a problem up front, Andrew?
Yeah. We haven't got anybody in the moment, have we? Because Havertz is injured or ill. We don't know where he is. Don't know, if he's going to be back tomorrow or not. Hopefully he's going to be, but we still need somebody to go and put the ball in the back of the net. And I do agree with Dan. 1-0, the game you're still leaving yourself open for that. Let's go and put that game away. Let's 2-0, 3-0 it. It's done. It's buried. Then we can start rotating players and stuff. And we did it last week. We had the conversation about Arteta bringing Odegaard and Rice off when we were 0-0 with Everton. And we've lost another 2 points there, and stuff. But you just think we just need something. We need something to be able to change the game and to make a difference. And and Lyle sort of summed it up perfectly for me in the chat as well. He said let's park the referee decision where it is at the moment and look at the bigger picture. Did we do enough to win that game? No, we didn't. Not based on the second half. We didn't. We should have gone and put that game to bed.
Trevor, did we do enough to win that game? Do we have a problem up front?
Oh, we undoubtedly have a lack of players up front, and we need a change of plan up front. But did we throw the game? No, not at all. Because without that refereeing decision or someone's decision, we win the game 1-0. We've gone out there and scored a goal, and Brighton have changed their game plan. They've realised what they needed to do, and Brighton have changed their game plan. They've pushed very high up the field. They've nullified our ball movers, and they play and a good team called Brighton started playing really well at home in that game. So we needed to have an answer to them, and we didn't have it, right? And that's where we need to bring someone. I don't care about what happens with Jesus if we bring someone in. We need a winger as well. But if we bring someone in proven up front through the middle, then Jesus can move wide and be the cover out wide, right? I wouldn't mind seeing Jesus playing with a high-profile, high-scoring striker. What worries me more is what happens to Havertz, because I don't think Havertz plays anywhere near as well as he does if he drops deeper. I think we've got better players in that position. So should we have put the game to bed? Of course we should have put the game to bed, but we weren't good enough to put the game to bed. Brighton worked us out. Brighton nullified us, but we would have done a typical hang on at a good team. I'm going to add that all the time. Hang on at a good time, and won a game 1-0 while we were under pressure. Very much as we nearly pulled off a win at Manchester City with 10 players when we were under massive pressure. And I credit Arteta for that. If we'd have pushed forward against Brighton if we'd have tried to push forward more against Brighton when they're pressing high and winning the ball back off us comfortably, then Brighton would have probably beaten us. They came close to it anyway. So there's so many ways you can look at what went on in that game, right? And Dan's right, and Dal's right, and Fergus is right, and Andrew is right, because we all see different things. And it was a strange old game like that. But the fact of the matter is, and I can't leave it behind, without that refereeing decision, we win a game 1-0 at a very, very good side who are hard to beat.
They're that good. They remain winless in the last 8 Premier League games, drawing 6, losing 2, drawing 4 successful matches in the competition for the first time. Brighton, Dan continues to say, and listen, Dan sounds really negative in here, but I know Dan is probably one of the most positive Arsenal supporters I know. Sensible at times, not often, but sensible. We're bang average up top, very predictable, easy to deal with, very clinical side to side. Have a very simple pattern: sideways, out wide, cross, and they're headed away. Could we have done better in that game? And then let's get on to the Newcastle game.
That game there, I don't. Not many people go to Brighton and put more than one in the back of the net. Just look at the last few results, right? Over the last few seasons, City have, Liverpool have. That's the difference. They do it. We don't. We don't have a clinical player to say they're going to grab the ball by the horns and do the damage up top. I don't want to go back over old ground, but in the second half we lost it in midfield a little bit. If only we had someone who could play midfield, right? Just going back over that point. I think that
you'd play him at right back instead, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah, you play him at right back, because I think that's where we allowed them to get back into the game. There was a comment earlier. I can't remember. I see a comment. So it said, "Who's to say we would have won that game if the referee didn't give that penalty?" Well, because the chances Brighton had were that you expect chances in most games, right? You expect teams to have chances. They didn't have anything which you'll say that should have been a surefire goal. We controlled that game, I thought, in the first half. We did more than enough. We just needed to short up a bit in the second half and go into it. But going back to the question, we need a clinical striker. We need a 20+. In fact, does anybody know when the last time we had someone scored 20 goals or more in the Premier League?
Would that be probably Sanchez?
Possibly, yeah. But Liverpool have won every season. City have won every season. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, not true. Tuesday night, tomorrow night, Newcastle in the first leg of the semi-final of the League Cup, Carabao Cup. We're playing in a white kit. Trevor, you said in the chat, and I'm sure you were just doing it to wind everybody up, you like the white kit. It's a great cause, but I don't like the white kit.
Ferg, very well that I don't give a damn what colour kit we play in. Couldn't give a toss. Couldn't give a damn. I don't care what we look like on the field. I care about what we do on the field. And if playing in white saves one kid in London from getting stabbed, then let's play in white. Oh, the white kit is Sunday, not tomorrow.
Sunday, yeah, sorry, yeah. Okay.
I tell you what, Ferg, Dan's on form tonight, and you can tell he's on one.
He's itching to get back on, isn't he?
He's wearing holes in that keyboard, I tell you. He's wearing holes in that keyboard. He knows we all love him, and we know. I love hearing from him tonight. This is really good stuff, Dan. We don't often agree, and I'm trying my hardest not to agree with you tonight. but there's been some magnificent points made tonight. And what's been really good, Ferg, as I just said it, so many different points of view put and extreme points of view at times, but you can see the reasoning behind all of them. You know, it was that bad. That was that bad on the field. But we play tomorrow, Newcastle. We're playing red then, won't we? You know?
Yeah, red and white.
They've come into form, haven't they, Newcastle? They really have a bit of form. Mind you, they made a meal out of beating Tottenham at the weekend, but they have come into form. Anthony Gordon seems to be putting some great form together, and I seriously hope his broken nose from Saturday hasn't healed at all, to be honest. I hope it bends around his face tonight and he can't play because he can't, he needs an operation or something. That's a bit over the top for me, really. Sorry, Anthony Gordon. I hope you don't need an operation, but I hope you don't play tomorrow. Yeah, they've come into form, Newcastle, and if we play like we have been doing, they're going to give us a right game, aren't they? It's going to be very tight. I honestly think that Simon said we need a 2-goal cushion. I think we need at least a 1-goal cushion. We need to go up there with a lead. We need to go up there in a lead. We've had some in Europe over the last few years. We've had this habit of letting ourselves down in the home leg, not getting the result we should have got. Hopefully we put that to bed tomorrow, and we take a goal or 2 lead up there, and then we know we can defend. We can defend as long as the referee isn't doing silly things or the 6 officials monitoring the game aren't doing silly things. We know we can hold on to a lead. So do well tomorrow night. Take a 1 or 2 goal lead up there, and let's go and have a day out at Wembley, folk.
I'm ignoring Dan at the minute. I've just seen a comment on there, but I'll just ignore that for the minute. I was just about to say we last met them in 2010, 2011, the 4th round, when we thrashed them 4-0 at St. James's Park, Andrew. Is Jesus the answer? He's had 6 goals in the last 5 games. He scored 13 goals in 9 starts in the competition, 11 goals and 2 assists, netting a hat-trick against Crystal Palace in the this season's quarter-final. Jesus has got to be the man up top, hasn't he, really?
He's all we've got, isn't he? That's it. We're a bit depleted up there now, aren't we? If Saka, Manweri, with the rumour is Havertz will be fit and be playing. So you're gonna have to have Jesus up there somewhere. I don't know what the answer is tomorrow night. We don't even know what squad we've got fit and available at the moment because everyone seems to be dropping like flies. But do you know what? I mean, and fair play to them all. Let's be really honest. Odegaard's clearly not fit. Rice, I don't think is 100% fit. We've got players missing everywhere. But you know what? We're still 1-1 against Brighton. If that's a legit goal, and we'd be probably going, do you know what? We've got a point away from home, and against a tough team, against a really good team. The only reason we're moaning is because of the penalty, and it's not a penalty. But those players are giving everything at the moment, and we've got a tough January. We've got some big games coming up for us this month. So they've got to dig in deep. But I'd like to see Havertz back up top tomorrow, and then put Jesus back, out where Saka will be.
Trevor,
and find a way to cover right back without using Partey there. There must be a way.
Could you use Calafiori in that area? Like I put in the WhatsApp group that I haven't been overly convinced with him. He's had injury problems as well, so he's not really got a proper run. Would you be able to say maybe play him over that way? Or what about putting Zinni at left back and maybe using? There's lots of options.
Is Timber?
I saw a comment on that before about Zinni.
Oh, look at that!
I'm not sure about Zinni.
Barry, that's spooky because just as I said, is Timber back tomorrow? Barry posts it up there. Great point. Timber at right back, right? Timber at right back. Anyone you want at left back, we've got options. Gabriel and Saliba, the best centre halves in the world. Argue with me if you want. I'll argue back all night long. And then we can play Rice and Partey in midfield because although I think Marino is getting better, be interesting to get you boys' points of view. From if we've got a full squad, my view is that we have to play 2 from 3. Partey, Rice and Marino, 2 from 3, right? And although I think Marino's doing really well and coming on well, I still think Partey and Rice are our best option. And then we're all right then. Up front, they can score at will,
Well,
What's he-
what's your thoughts on this? So he's got Roya, Calafiori, Saliba, Timber, Gabriel, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Martinelli, Havertz, Jesus. That's the lineup. I'd actually probably have Lewis Skelly in instead of Calafiori.
You not got Mikel Arteta in the chat or something?
Yeah, no. There's the manager, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to getting to Girona with Danny in this mood. It'll be a great trip. I'll be getting them finishes down his neck like there's no tomorrow.
Right, guys, let's go predictions for this one then. So what are we doing? Dale, what's your prediction on this one? Bearing in mind it's a two-legged game and we go back up on the 5th of February to St. James's Park.
I think Bruno Guimaraes being out is a massive, massive loss for them. He's a very big part of what Isak does. I think that is Isak is a very, very dangerous striker. He knows what he's doing. He knows where the net is. That being said, they've kind of nullified part of him with Bruno being out, and I think they're also missing Fabian Schär. Is it Fabian Schär? So yeah. they got two players which are both out, and
the centre back as well, isn't he?
Yeah, is it Botman?
Yes. Yeah.
No, he came on and played. I think he's fit for tomorrow. But that being said, I agree with a lot of people in the chat. I do think we do need a 2-goal cushion to take up there, but I can't see them not coming at us because they know full well they're going to come at us and they're going to fancy us in James's Park. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to the Arsenal, and the team is pretty much. I'm going to agree with what Dan put on the screen before.
Andrew,
I think Newcastle are going to come and try and play the ball draw that they did with us last year when they did just time wasted beyond galore and went for the 0-0. I think we're going to do 2-0.
Yeah. Comment of the night, Daniel. Comment of the night, son.
Does anyone know anyone with a flag? Anyone know anyone with a flag that could help out in a concourse?
Right.
You must have a Moroccan sunset.
Look, right. We're going to have to go. Andrew, you know I keep looking that way now, don't you? You've been in here.
I do, mate. I do.
Off 8 o'clock. Listen, right. It's simple. Everyone's wrong. Everyone's wrong, right? This is going to be a proper Arsenal Football Club historic semi-final 2-legged go, right? We're going to win 1-0 at home tomorrow. Then we're going to go up there next month, draw 0-0 at Newcastle United, have a massive night on the wash, on the slash in Newcastle, celebrating our 1-0 over 2 legs, just like we always used to do. Then we're going to go to Wembley and have a great day. Right, game over, Ferg, press the button, move on.
I will do. Guys, as Dan said, the concourse means nothing. It does. It starts it and it brings it into the stands. But yeah, we need to bring it into stands. I'm going for a 1-0 to the Arsenal. And then we've got, as you say, get smashed for my birthday, Lyle's birthday, up in Newcastle. Bearing in mind, tickets go on sale tomorrow for 10 plus. It will drop down to a lot lower on Wednesday. 10 a.m. It will drop lower. So if you have little or no tickets, there was 4,800. So I'm sure it could go to 5 or 0 on goals. So
I don't think it will go to 0. I hope it does. I don't think it'll go to 0. But Ferg, we made a promise. Look, this comment, right? Yeah. We made a promise to Simon, right? Just quickly for me, I thought about this yesterday. I watched the Liverpool-Man United game, and I thought that Carragher and Neville worked really well in the Man United-Liverpool game. Being an expert from each side, the banter, the chucking it backwards and forwards was absolutely superb. And what I want to see now is more of this. I don't want to hear Carragher and Neville when we're playing Tottenham. I want to hear Wrighty or Smithy, and someone from an old Tottenham player going at it. Come on, Sky. It was really good, that game, to listen to yesterday with them two that I'm not really keen on. Give us some more of that. Give us some more of that. Give us some relevant people doing this crap. Ferg, I don't know how I'll get rid of this current comment. Oh, there we go.
It's all right. I got that. Stop.
Yeah.
The last time Newcastle scored away at Arsenal in the cup competition was 1902. Since then, we've won 8 without conceding and scored 21. Thank you, Hente.
1-0. Henty knows. Henty knows.
And Dan doesn't. Rubbish podcast. Yeah, go on, Dan. Do one. Do one. Here we go. Pressing the button. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your input tonight. It's been, I did try and stick to this. I probably got about 50% of it in, but like we knew where it all was going. It was going down to that decision. They look great with the light on. Absolutely majestic with the light on.
Thank you, mate.
Andrew, thanks as always for jumping in, and thanks for some of the
mate.
content you gave me for the Newcastle game, even though I didn't use most of it. Sorry.
All right.
We just got so
I'll do your
wary.
research for you, mate. Don't you worry.
Mate, it's been one of those days. You saw what happened at work and stuff like that, so it's been one of those days. Trev, I'm glad you're feeling better. I spoke to you a couple of days ago, and you sounded like before the Brighton game. You sounded like death warmed up. So I'm really glad you're feeling better, mate. And we'll see you tomorrow night for an alcohol-free beer, maybe, and or a
no
lemonade.
Beer tomorrow night for me. No beer tomorrow night for me. No means no, Fergus. No beer for me tomorrow night, mate.
Yeah, none for me either. Thank you for watching Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans, for Arsenal fans. You heard how we speak on here. We're not after clicks. We're not after snippets on TikTok, this, that, and the other. We just like talking about our wonderful club. If you like what we do please go across to our YouTube channel, click like, click subscribe, and ring the bell. We've got 253 of you watching on all platforms, some on YouTube, but mostly on Elon Musk's platform. But we'd love you to go over to YouTube and just support us in whatever little way you could. Thanks very much, people. Up the Arsenal, fuck the Spurs.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans, for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.